Happy Friday. I am in the beautiful Oamaru. I love Oamaru, love it. It's a town. It's a town. And it's just about an hour and a half north of Dunedin. And I love it. I love it here. I've always loved Oamaru. It's got really old, beautiful, really cool buildings. It's got lots of arty-farty kind of shops. It's got lots of junk and second-hand shit and great food and good people, you know, all my favourite things. So I'm pretty happy. I'm working down here for 2 days. And I got on a plane yesterday and I sat next to a woman and she sort of looked me up and down and said, "Oh, what do you do?" Which I think's the shittiest fucking question in the world. Is that not the shittiest question in the world? What do you do? It's like, okay, so you're going to judge my entire worth on what I do. Now, I like the idea of finding out what people do because it's interesting, right? And you might go, oh shit, well, I used to do that. Or, you know, you've got a connection point. So I like the conversation, but I find the what do you do such a judgmental, shitty opening line. You know, it's a shitty opening line. I don't mind where you're from. Where you from? Where you from? I'm like, oh, at least you're making an attempt to kind of reach out. Anyway, she said, oh, what do you do? And I said, oh, I run events. And I change my what do I do every time I talk to someone based on how I feel. I said to someone recently, I'm a writer. And then I went all weird and got the giggles. So I was like, I actually am a writer, written 7 books. Quite weird to identify as a writer though. Anyway, it's quite a weird thing. What do you do? What are you? What do you identify as? It's a big fucking question, isn't it? Anyway, I was like, oh yeah, so I run events. And she was like, oh, cool. And she said, are you going to Dunedin? I flew into Dunedin. You're going to Dunedin for an event? And I'm like, yeah. And then I thought, I don't want to talk to you. And then she turned around in an equally judgmental tone and said, where are you from? And I said, Levin. And she just looked at me and went, Levin? Really? Oh, you don't seem like someone from Levin. And I was like, wow. And this actually is probably the 100th time someone said that to me. So often when I'm working in bigger cities and I say to people, they say, where are you from? And I go, Levin. So for those of you who are listening who aren't from New Zealand or don't know, Levin's a very small town. I think there's 30,000 people in it. It's a little tiny town. And, you know, it's not the most glamorous place in the world. It works for me. I've lived there 51 years, hung out there, and it works for me. It works for me because I decided, it was a decision because I had 4 kids and my husband and I were neighbours, a little bit of a cheesy side note. And so our parents are still in the same street and we bought in the same street. So we've kind of got a bit of a thing going on. It's really good. And it means that we can all hang out and my kids have a really good relationship with their grandparents because they saw them all the time. And I love that. And I love the idea it takes a village to raise a child, you know, blah, blah, blah. So we kind of stayed in Levin because both of us were travelling when we were younger in our work and we didn't really need to go anywhere. We spent a lot of time away. And it kind of worked for us. So anyway, Levin is my home and I love it. And it's a good little place. It's a good little place. And I've always believed big time that it's not where you live, it's how you live. Right? Not where you live, how you live. It's so fucking important how you live. And it doesn't matter. You could live in the wankiest street and down in the middle of Auckland and still have a shit life. Or you could live in the shittiest street in a shitty little town and have a great life, right? I don't think it matters where you live. And I guess I've always had to own that because I live in a tiny little shitty town, according to most of the world. And people think if you're from a small town, you've got a small mind. You know, no, I don't think so. And I just think it's such an interesting call. And so I was obviously kind of all dressed up and she just looked at me and was like, oh, this is not what I expected to come out of Levin. And I'm like, wow, so fashion and forward thinking can't come from a small town. It's kind of sad for me that we get so limited, you know, to that. I just think that's kind of a shame. And I think if you are progressive, it doesn't matter where you live. It's about what you think. And I don't think we should put limits on ourselves based on our address. You know, don't put limits on yourself based on where you live. And I think I'm really proud of where I live, and it's like, mate, I came from Levin, I've got 4 kids. Don't tell me you can't run a business. Don't tell me you can't do this and you can't do that. You can do anything you damn well like, but you've got to decide you want to do it and then get on with it, right? So I kind of like that. And I remember years ago, I arrived in the Koru Lounge in Palmerston North which is 30 minutes north of where I live, at the Air New Zealand terminal. And a guy I knew from Levin was in the lounge. And I was like, hey, g'day, how you going? And he goes, oh, good. And I said, oh, you look cool. And he was really he looked beautiful. He was really well dressed. And I said, oh, you look cool. And he went, oh, yes, this is my Auckland shirt. And I went, your Auckland shirt? He went, yeah, I'm going to Auckland. So I'm like, my Auckland shirt. And I went, why don't you wear that kind of shirt when you're at home in Levin? And he's like, oh, nah, because everyone would laugh at me. This is my Auckland look. And I was like, fuck, imagine having a different look. And some people do. You go, oh no, when I'm in the city, I wear this. And when I'm in the small town, I wear this. I'm like, wow. Like, I just wear whatever the fuck I want wherever I am, and I don't really care. And, it's like, I think, why would you change who you are based on your location? I find that really interesting. And because I'm obsessed with self-expression and people being who they are, I think, why would you change who you are because you just drove or flew into a different location? I find that really, really odd. So think about that. Do you change who you are depending on where you are? Do you go, oh, I'm going to the city and I'm not good enough? Or do you go, oh my God, I'm from a city and I got to go to a small town and fuck, that'll be boring. And you have all these assumptions and it's like, it may not be. Some of the coolest people I've ever met live in tiny little fucking towns. Like, I've got an aunt that lives in Wakawaiti in the bottom of the South Island. Fuck, she's the coolest person I've ever met. She lives in a bloody 200-year mud brick cottage. And she's just extraordinary, and so interesting. So interesting. And it's like, we don't want to limit people by their geography, do we? I don't think we want to do that. There was a really good book written, I think it was in 2007, called The 8 Tribes of New Zealand or something. And it was about the contemporary society of New Zealand. And it had all the behaviours of different locations. Like, it was kind of quite, when it came out, it was a bit of a big deal because it was like, oh, are you entitled like Remuera, or are you staunch like Bill Clutha, and it had all these locations of that sort of pigeonholed people. But it is true, there are different cultures, like contemporary cultures within locations, and based on, it's hugely different. It's a different space. So I think it's really interesting what the mindset is of where you live and what your mindset is based on where you live. So that's my observation for today. I think it's how you live, not where you live. There you go. That's what I think you should lean into. And yeah, I love the idea of asking people like, oh, where do you live? And what do you love about living there? Because what do you love about living there instantly opens them up to the positives and opens you up into curiosity, rather than, oh, how long have you lived there? Like, really judgmentally. We love to put people in a box, don't we? Well, I'm out of my box. I'm out of my box and I'm an Oamaru and I'm off to get a coffee. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.